We now know that since 2015, at least 22 people have been killed by police carrying out no-knock warrants.
But there's so little transparency around no-knocks that it's hard to know the total number of fatalities and just how many survivors are out there.
We've seen how little information officers need to get this kind of warrant.
They don't need a name. They don't need to identify whether children or elderly people live there.
And while police are supposed to explain why they need a no-knock, we found many examples where they don't justify the risk.
We know that there's little gatekeeping.
Judges who are supposed to be the last line of defense don't usually question the claims officers are making.
We saw how an entire block got upended during a multi-house raid for a small amount of drugs.
But police keep defending this intrusive tactic.
A warrant that can take minutes to approve can have devastating consequences that last a lifetime.
We can't stop thinking about people like Wanda Stigall and Jessica Kluwat, who were there when police shot and killed their loved ones.
And how those survivors ended up trapped in the criminal justice system for years.
For them, and others like Benji Edwards, they're still looking for justice. For something to change. So is Marvin Guy.
Those people in Washington, D.C., they need to get their act together. You know, it's unconstitutional. I mean, I've been writing down in D.C., I've been writing down there to those lawmakers and telling them, hey, man, what's going on here?
While sitting behind bars, Marvin saw the news that the city where he had lived, Killeen, actually banned no-knock warrants last year. The law was pushed by the family of a man who was killed by police in a no-knock raid in 2019.
But that didn't change anything for Marvin's case. As we were getting ready to release this series, I was suddenly unable to send him emails or set up video chats. And then I got a phone call.
My name's April Bradford.
Hi, April.
I'm Marvin's son, mom.
April and Marvin had a child together in the late 90s. They still talk all the time. And she was calling to give me a message from Marvin.
He wants you to know that they took your name off the call log, where he can't call you at all.
She told me the jail had altered the list of people who could contact Marvin. Not only was I taken off, but apparently so were others who wanted to speak with him about his case.
He said that he believed that they blocked him because he don't want you to get his story out.
Wow.
And they blocked him. He said all the people that he has been contacting with to speak on his story, everybody, they blocked it. Everybody calls from him calling out to correspond about his story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just, I'm not trying to, I'm working as a journalist, so I just want to be able to get his story and to talk about it and, and to be able to understand what happened in his view of that day. And so, I'm going to...
And I can only give you so much because I wasn't there, but it's just something is not right with this situation.
When I called the Bell County Jail, a man who answered the phone confirmed someone had removed my name from the communication system. He said it was probably because I wasn't on Marvin's approved inmate visitation list. But I kept trying to reach Marvin and left him several voicemails. And a few days before we were going to publish this episode, my phone rang.
Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from
Marvin,
an inmate at the correctional facility.
Marvin said he'd been thinking a lot since we last talked.
There's just a whole lot of things go through my mind like that, as far as is it going to be a trial? I wonder about why my health is getting bad. Am I going to, make it?
And again, we went back to the raid.
I always go back to the day that this happened. At the end of the day, I have great, great sorrow. When something like this happens, it's a real tragedy. And it's a real tragedy for both sides.
I had so many other questions for Marvin, but his calls have time limits.
This call will be terminated in 2 minutes.
And we never finished our conversation that day.
This May is the 8th anniversary of the raid on Marvin's home. He's been behind bars the entire time, awaiting trial. There's been no accountability for what happened that day, for anyone involved.